You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq. Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is, if getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now, 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
Hi, I'm Mike, founder of DollarShaveClub.com. What is DollarShaveClub.com? Well, for $1 a month, we send high-quality razors right to your door. Yeah, $1. Are the blades any good? No. Our blades are f***ing great. Each razor has stainless steel blades, an aloe vera lubricating strip, and a pivot head. It's so gentle a toddler could use it. And do you like spending $20 a month on brand name razors? 19 go to Roger Federer. I'm good at tennis. And do you think your razor needs a vibrating handle, a flashlight, a back scratcher, and 10 blades? Your handsome-ass grandfather had 1 blade and polio. Looking good, pop up! Stop paying for shave tech you don't need. And stop forgetting to buy your blades every month. Alejandro and I are going to ship them right to you. We're not just selling razors, we're also making new jobs. Alejandro, what were you doing last month?
Not working.
What are you doing now?
Working.
I'm no Vanderbilt, but this train makes hay. So stop forgetting to buy your blades every month and start deciding where you're going to stack all those dollar bills I'm saving you. We are DollarShaveClub.com, and the party is on.
I know karate, I know jiu-jitsu and drive like a gangster when I'm coming to see you, see you.
Ready to stand out, Army ROTC prepares you not only as a college student, but as a strong leader, allowing you to earn the rank of second lieutenant. You will be eligible for full tuition merit-based scholarships and develop leadership skills essential for your future. Start strong and enhance your college experience. Visit your campus Army ROTC representative today. To find out how you can earn up to a full tuition scholarship, visit goarmy.com/podcast to locate your closest ROTC program today. Army officers inspire, strengthen others. Paid for by the United States Army.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
Good evening, everyone. This is Diane from the Red Whine Show, joined by Darylyn. And we're going to be continuing our conversation from last week regarding the brouhaha going on in the town of Canton, Mass, which is like any little, I wouldn't even call it a little town, but any town in the U.S. This can happen anywhere where you have, corrupt select boards, corrupt police officers, corrupt people, and we have a whole lot more that they've been pulling going on to this week's show. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Darylyn so she can give us a quick update on what's going on.
I think the funniest thing, and probably the most embarrassing and humiliating and indicative of guilt is Mrs. Elizabeth Proctor, who's the wife of Trooper Michael Proctor, who, quote, investigated, end quote, the, quote, murder, end quote, of Boston police officer John O'Keefe. Apparently, according to Aidan Carney, and I didn't know his name was pronounced Carney. I always thought it was Kearney. So apparently, Aidan said to the press today, with his attorney with him, that Elizabeth Proctor, obviously she must be of Canton too, we haven't really looked too much into her, that she called all the turtle riders. And for those of you who don't know, Turtle Boy is Turtle Boy Daily News is it started out as a, kind of raunchy, languaged, put down of kind of scummy people that probably deserved it anyways. But he's kind of evolved into, more of an investigative reporter who has First Amendment right of free speech. And so Miss Proctor, Elizabeth Proctor, Trooper Michael Proctor's wife of Canton, decided to call all the people that subscribe to Turtle Boy Daily News, call their employers and tell their employers nasty things about them and that they should probably be fired. So Aidan on live TV told everybody where Elizabeth Proctor works. And, the biggest thing that people don't get, and the mafia has this word called orbanta, which is shut up, basically, or we're going to kill you. And when you do a crime or you participate in a crime, you shouldn't be running your mouth and calling other people's employers. That just makes you look guilty. Don't you agree?
Yeah, and I guess my question is this. First of all, how did they find out that it was definitely Elizabeth Proctor, number one, unless she identified herself? Number two, I'm a subscriber of Turtle Boy, and I am damn well disappointed that little witch didn't call me. How dare she?
Right?
not call me. Because I would have loved to have had a little chat with her about that.
Well, I would hope that.
So, Elizabeth, if you're listening, call me. I'll be waiting.
I could put out a post to the Canton website and let them know, and they've people have contacted us and said how grateful they are that we're calling attention to this, like we do to any corruption.
Well, I think it's twofold. You have what's going on with this whole issue with Karen Reed, who was the person that's allegedly accused of killing Detective John O'Keefe, right? That was his name. So that's part of the story.
Was accused of it. No, I'm sorry. Karen Reed was accused, yes.
Karen Reed was accused of killing John O'Keefe, the Boston police officer. And in Aiden's research and looking up the information, he uncovered this whole other story that's part of the story but is separate, which is corrupt town officials, corrupt police officers, and a city of a small city of Canton that makes everybody, I'm sure, has read Peyton Place and all the intrigue and all the backstabbing and everything that goes on. And Canton makes Peyton Place look like nothing. And then the third angle is you have all the really great citizens that live in Canton that love their town, that love the people in it, but are completely disgusted at this faction of people that seem to have some sort of an iron-fisted control over the town, where if you say or do something, they're going to get you. I will just put that out there because that seems like what it is, where you have someone like Elizabeth Proctor, who is the wife of Michael Proctor, state trooper. If he even still is a state trooper, we don't know, because is he post-certified in the state of Massachusetts? We still don't know. But for her to first of all, how did she find out who the subscribers were? Or is she just going by people that follow the Facebook page? Again, Elizabeth, call me. I'm waiting. But number two, I would hope any employer that took that call would have said, go fuck yourself. Excuse my French, everybody. I apologize. But that's what I would have said.
Right?
People can do what they want. If they want to follow and they want to sit there and it's a matter of who do you believe? Reasonable doubt. Who do you believe? Things don't add up an awful lot on the corrupt side. Now does it?
Well, what's funny is, like, normally, like, people would do this to me when I was a trooper too. If you were, if you had a disagreement with somebody or whatever it was, it'd be like, they'd call your job, like they'd call the police, and if you were a bad dentist, would you go around and call all those people's patients? Like, you'd take out a complaint. But this is funny too. Elizabeth Proctor was convicted of witchcraft in the Salem witch trials in 1962, and she was exexecuted. I just
not 1962. I'm pretty sure you're talking about 1660.
1692. Oh my God. 1692.
Okay.
1692. But okay. So the second thing is, right, and so you and I, we share an email, and this person sent us an email on October 30th, which was 2 days ago, from Sicolialina Stoller, who I Googled and Di Googled, is a retired porn star. So nice try, whoever you are from Canton.
And you know what? If you're legit and you're like you said, that there was someone that's a libertarian, that's great. Glad that you want to find out about us, but guess what? It's already all out there. Everybody knows who we are.
Here's what it says.
We have it on our damn page.
Subject: Hostesses. I just listened to the Canton episode, and it was very interesting, to say the least. Just out of curiosity, and also to learn a bit more information sources, I was hoping to get your names. You all seem very accomplished, but I was hoping to learn more about you. So if possible, please reply with your names. All you have to do is go on our page, and our names. We don't hide our names. Because we are factual in our reporting, to the best extent we can. We're never looking to deceive anyone. And, it's just, it's so stupid. I mean, as a PI, I could probably find out who this porn star was if I gave 2 cents to find out, but I don't. But more curious is, Rick, can you play that cut for us? That is about the police and using their authority. I got this today from Aidan Carney's press conference after he came out of court today. It's pretty illuminating. Are we still on?
He's queuing it.
Okay. So I thought his attorney was fabulous, and I like that his attorney allows Aiden to speak freely, because as a investigative reporter and a journalist, you have free speech, and you can speak about people. You can video people in public. So the fact that they're using the state in law enforcement as a source of tyranny should be concerning for everybody.
Well, I would just say that it's a little bit of the same old when it comes to Canton town officials and police officers.
Well, and we've exposed that, but people outside of Canton probably are saying, who would have thought that this would happen? Because a lot of the corruption that goes on with police is behind the scenes, and people are too afraid to speak out
for fear of retaliation.
I think Rick has it queued up for us. Maybe not. So some of the emails that we got, thank you both. Your podcast was really enlightening. Much of Canton to know abnormal is for the Canton PD to be knocking on police doors and asking for names. And that includes one of the women they approached who didn't think much of it, but now feels fairly violated. I think a few of us, forgerous felons, and they're being joking, tried to message you today to say hello. Well, we appreciate everything that you all are doing, because it's tough to stand up.
Absolutely.
To speak out, especially when it's about the police department. And for people who are just tuning in, what the town residents were doing is they were asking for a special town meeting to be called, and Diane can explain it. And they wanted more accountability with their police, and they wanted more accountability with their selectmen. And the statement that the selectmen made at a recorded board hearing was that the police are obligated to investigate all complaints that come to them. The police are not obligated to investigate all complaints. They have what's called discretion. So not everybody who speeds gets a ticket. Not everybody who's done something necessarily gets arrested for it. So that's a falsehood, and all that will be used if the people of Canton, decide to have a lawsuit for a violation of their civil rights by having police officers going door to door to question them about a town petition that they signed, asking the police to be accountable.
And the thing is, in reality, it is such an absolute waste of police resources. We have horrendous crimes that are being committed, and they're going to knock on a door because someone said they think that their signature and their family members' signatures were forged. Or they're claiming that the signatures were forged.
Right, and I don't want to let anything out of the bag, but we believe that we have a line on the person that may have claimed the forgery. And, it's spurious at the least, but Diane, about town politics. I mean, first of all, it would be against the law for the town clerk to show anybody someone's signatures before they're certified or entered into the computer. So how do we even think that leaked out? And what do you think about the process that the board went through? Because I know people are asking for clarification on that.
I know when a petition comes in, it comes in normally, usually to let's say your town administrator or your town clerk, depending on who receives it. They then if it's the town clerk, they then go through the process of verifying signatures. If the citizen is not a registered voter or there's a question about it, it's crossed off. That's plain and simple. The only way a town clerk would basically recommend forged signatures if they were made aware that it was a forged signature. So the question that hasn't been answered yet is, when did the person make this claim? If all the signatures are verified, it then will go to your town manager. The select board will receive, they are allowed to take a look at the signatures if they so choose to, but at that point in time, it then gets sent to the town attorneys, to verify that a special meeting has to be called. And then it goes to the moderator, because it's the moderator's meeting. It is not the select board meeting. A special town meeting or a town meeting is the body's meeting. It's the taxpayers' meeting, not the select board's meeting. So when we have our town meetings, we can only speak if we are recognized by the moderator, because it is the moderator's meeting. So I know you've been to the Barnesville town meeting. You know your town moderator. He's the one that presents the questions. Am I correct? Is that how they do it? On the warrant.
I haven't been to one where there's a warrant.
Okay. So when they have, for example, when they have like a warrant or a petition warrant article or whatnot, the moderator will read the question to the body, and then depending on if it's true town meeting style, and then he will ask the voters, all in favor, say aye, opposed, say no, and then he'll say the ayes have it or the noes have it. Or if it's a voice vote and you can't tell, then you do a ballot vote where people will raise up their ballot cards unless someone requests a secret vote. Now, what I would recommend, especially for the people that are going to the special town meeting, the third question of hiring, where you're going to spend the $200,000, you have the ability to request a secret ballot vote, and they have to make sure that they have that stuff there. You need 25 people to sign a petition, or sometimes it's 5. It just depends what the question is. Check with your moderator to confirm it, or the Secretary of State's office. Then they ask the 5 people if they signed it, or the 25 people if they signed it for a secret ballot. They will say yes if they're there, obviously no if they're not there, but you need to do it at the actual meeting. So then people have the privacy of being able to vote without anybody seeing what their vote is, because then it's tabulated at the tables. So
now, what about this appointment? I believe when I watched the town meeting that they wanted to table the appointment of the police prosecutor. Is it unusual? I myself have never heard of a board appointing a police prosecutor.
Yes. It's recommended. What happens is it will be recommended by the police chief. Then it goes before the board to approve, because you have to remember there's probably a monetary difference. And that's something that the select board would approve. And I'm not sure about the state of Canton. No, actually, I am sure about the state of Canton. The state of Canton runs by Chapter 41, Section 97, which is the select board does have a lot of control over their police department. There's Section 97A, which gives the police chief far more broader powers separate from the select board. So it's he's more autonomous. Okay. That is something that has to be passed by the town meeting vote. So before the next town meeting, if you want your police department to be more autonomous from the select board, which kind of keeps it separate so that the select board can't, for example, if a police officer pulls over somebody's relative, and retaliation can be strong. If that person comes up for promotion, they're going to try and stop it in any way, shape, or form. It's happened, but this kind of makes it more autonomous, where the police chief decides who would be promoted. That's the Chapter 4197A. So if the residents of Canton want to put that, it would have to come forth probably as a petition article, unless they can get the select board to agree to it. And then get that vote, and then automatically that runs with how the police department runs, which gives the police chief more control over promotions and whatnot. Because I was reading that's a little bit different than ours.
It just seems to me like really bizarre that that, I mean, I understand what you're saying. It just seems to me a conflict of interest for elected town officials to be appointing someone who could potentially prosecute them or write them a ticket.
Well, I think you're focusing too much on the word appointment. I think you're thinking it's like they've decided who they want to be out of the police department, but it would come with the police chief's recommendation. So the police chief is saying, I'm recommending Joe Schmo become the police prosecutor. And this is why. So they will review it, and then, then they accept the appointment with the chief's recommendation is probably what the motion would be. But on the agenda, it's going to say appointment of. But I find it very interesting that they tabled it. Obviously, it makes me wonder if some of the select board members were not necessarily aware that he was going door to door, if this is indeed the one that was going door to door.
Yeah, I don't remember the name specifically. But
if it was him and he was going to potentially be the police prosecutor, that to me is a pretty big conflict of interest, because your police prosecutor goes, obviously on the information that is presented by other police officers, not himself. You see what I mean? He would be the one that would be, battling in court over the charges for someone that may have mistakenly took a signature that they weren't even aware was forged.
And also what I find really curious is, there's a lot of things about this. And, I'm not saying that being a police chief is an easy job. It isn't at all. Being in charge of that many people, it is political, and, there's
very political
politics and outside politics. But the one thing, that I would hope that you could depend on with the police chief and a police prosecutor is that they would understand people's constitutional rights. I mean, we as police navigate the gray our whole entire career. And I hope if I've taught anybody that I worked with that worked with me anything, is how not to violate someone's constitutional rights and to do things the way you're supposed to do them. So the first thing I have problem with is I'm not a lawyer, but I don't believe 267(1), which is crimes against currency, which is crimes against money, is the appropriate charge for forgery in this particular case, because one, it has to be something of value for money, like I sign your name to a second mortgage. So I think that's the incorrect charge.
I think the stretch, and this is a huge stretch, is if the request for the special town meeting included a dollar amount, which I'm understanding, was there something like the third request would be for up to $200,000 for an investigation? Am I wrong?
But
if that's what the petition said, and I'm telling, and that's why I'm saying this is a huge stretch,
right?
Because they're saying that if someone's signature was forged, towards potentially a $200,000 impact to the town, and it's a huge stretch. Trust me when I tell you, this is a huge stretch. I would never support anything like this, because the crime hasn't occurred. If that's how they want to look at it. Right, because the only way the forgery could impact anything is if it was your last signature that needed to capitulate the special town meeting, or if their signature was the reason that the $200,000 got voted in. Does that make sense?
Well,
that's why it's such a huge stretch. Nothing has occurred at this point in time with this petition.
But even before that, right? What Section 1 says is like somebody has to have the intent to defraud, right? Makes or alters in or received as legitimate proof in the state in concerning money. So, or the acquittance or discharge for money or other property, like a credit card or an instrument that has something to do with the dollar. So, or something that's purchased from a bank or some other, financially responsible institution. And it has to do with cash. A forgery itself means, what 261 means, you have to alter a document in order to receive money. And I think that is a huge stretch because...
Oh, it is a huge stretch.
It's huge. And what I'm saying is I'm not trying to break our balls, but I'm saying that I don't believe that that's the correct. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but to me, it has to do with. I mean, Chapter 267 is forgery and crimes against currency. So, but then again, right? The district attorney is Morrissey, and we've seen in a sober home death of I think it was a Weymouth death. I think it was the people or running the sober home was Cleggett. Cleggett, right? And a person went missing from this sober home, and apparently he was like in the backyard, and the medical examiner said it was an accident. Well, how did somebody accidentally use his credit card the day after he went missing and it wasn't him? So, again, in the Clapp case, that was a Morrissey case as well. It was a gentleman who wanted to take charges out against the nurse who beat his mother to death in a nursing home. And in the court records, it says that Morrissey basically threatened him to drop the murder charge. So, I mean, one has to think is how far does this corruption go? And why has it been unchecked for so long? It's really concerning. And I think everybody from Canton is doing the absolute right thing, as hard as it is. And some woman said on Facebook, like, that she thought the Canton page was mean and cruel and whatever, and these new police don't deserve this. If there's anyone who just joined the police department and doesn't expect to get punched in the face, whether it's physically or with words, then grow some skin, quit your job, and go work at CVS, because
oh my goodness, yes,
our feelings can't be hurt that easily. And why is this person taking on the whole entire new police officers? And it's just, I think what they're doing is right. I think that the residents, all they did was they asked for clarification, and they used, and right, they used every possible venue that they had, and then they finally went public, which apparently, I think they should sue. I mean, I think that's the only way that you can get people to really sit up and listen, is to hit them in the pocketbook. But
well, I mean, they have a chance to speak their piece at the special town meeting, which thank God for town meetings, because they're the last form of true democracy when it comes to the local voter, of being able to speak and to affect budgets or select board people. And keep in mind, there's also the recall option, because in the state of Massachusetts, you can recall select board members if they're not doing what they say they're going to do. Now, here in New Hampshire, you can't. You either have to die in office or wait till the next election. But you have the option in Massachusetts to recall any select board member, any school board member who is, not doing what, as a town, you feel that they should be doing. And
so it doesn't have to be a legal charge, because I know to remove elected official, like say a sheriff or something, there has to be something criminal, and that goes to the court, and then the court decides if there's actually a recall.
No, because a recall in Massachusetts, I believe, is you get, I'm going to just guess and say 25% of the total voters in the town have to sign, let's say a petition or something like that, and it gets submitted, and then that calls for a special election.
Okay.
And someone could step up to run against that person, or they find out that their seat has been recalled. I'd have to look a little bit more into it, because I did look into another case prior, but that was a while ago.
Yeah,
so I don't remember off the top of my head.
I know that. So is Canton? Are they dissatisfied? They're obviously dissatisfied with the selectmen because they're not being transparent. And what type of transparency can we expect?
Well, when you're transparent, when people ask questions, they're not going to get answers right away, but at least make an effort to answer the questions. I'm not sure the specifics as to, I think it has a lot to do with what the select board has done as far as the police department, instructing them to do things behind the scenes. Again, we don't know why the police chief decided to investigate this in the first place, or have an officer go to the homes. We don't know what happened behind the scenes from when and if the select board viewed the petition. Did one of the select board members see a signature on there and say, I don't think that person would sign that, and then pick up the phone and say, did you sign that? And they said, no, I didn't. And then they said, hey, Joe, Officer Joe, she never signed this. Let's get this whole thing thrown out. Let's go prove that, and we'll have this. We'll sit there and give them bad feedback and have everybody turn against them because they're just turning in all forgeries. Let's go do this. Is that how the conversation happened?
Well, I mean, that would be highly illegal, right? Because the select person, if that's what they did, they would be brought up on charges.
If it was a single select person that did this, absolutely. Because as I've said a million times, a select person has absolutely no power, no authority, no anything over any single person, whether they're a town employee or whether they're a citizen, unless they are convened in a meeting and they have to abide by the state specific laws. We call them RSAs in New Hampshire. They call them your chapters or whatever. Select board members have specific guidelines that they're allowed to act under. Now, one thing I did put out there for information was there is it's mass.gov site, whatever. It has everything that's a conflict of interest and ethics for select board members, specifically what they can and cannot do. I'll see if I can find the link again. And it's very interesting, and it's something that people do need to read.
Is that something you posted already?
I posted it, I know, on the Canton page. I will post it on our page as well, because it's applies to every single select board in the state of Massachusetts. And it's great information, and it's information all select board members should be reading, because and they have trainings for this. You're supposed to take a training with, your state
that is so
state
funny
select boards or whatever, but you're supposed to train for all of this to talk about like the right to know laws, open meeting laws, when you call it executive session, we call it non-public, or under right to know, it's 91-A:3 Roman numeral 2 in the state of New Hampshire. It's chapter whatever, and then it's option 1 or option 5, whatever. Anyhow, but those are the only things, and it's
I found
the
it.
specific. When you go into executive session, or you go into, as in the state of New Hampshire, under chapter 91, it has to be specific to what you're talking about. You just can't sit there and go in under personnel and then talk about the town land down the street that you decide you want to sell your friend. You can't do that.
Right.
You have to go into executive session.
Yeah, Mass General Law 268A,
right,
as we said. And
so if you're talking personnel or whatever, you're going to go in under, say, option 1, or you're disciplining an employee. So you go in under chapter whatever, option 1. And there has to be a roll call. Very important fact. There has to be a roll call, accepting the fact that you're going into executive session, right? When you're done with that, you have to come back out of that executive session. And then you have to, if you're going in for real estate, you have to reread that in open session under whatever option you're going in. You have another roll call vote, and then you go back into executive session. You cannot stay in executive session and talk about all these different subjects. You can't do that. That is against the law, and it is against the open meeting laws.
Okay.
And if you do that, anything that was decided in that illegal portion can be thrown out in court. So if they decided to sell Joe Schmo down the street the town building that was on the beach that's worth, $50 million, we'll just throw this out, but I'm being facetious, okay? And they didn't do the proper, meeting style that you're supposed to with going into executive session, a judge will overturn that entire sale.
Now, is executive session, does that constitute confidential information?
Yes.
Okay.
That will be your personnel issues. That will be your bargaining agreement issues. That will be if you have to meet with an attorney over litigation.
So if what you said, if one of the selectmen, did make that call as we suggested, we're not saying that that's what happened.
It could have been all of them for all we know.
It could have been, but
and if it was, that's even worse.
Oh, no kidding, right? So self-dealing, section 19, and that's I think we said what it was, 268, 268A. So it says the law generally prohibits you from taking any official action on matters affecting your own financial interest or the financial interest of your immediate family members, partners. As a selectman, you can't act in any way that affects those interests, positively or negatively. It says the prohibition on acting in these matters is very broad, but you may not participate as a selectman in any way. You may not vote in this matters. You know, participate in moderate or chair discussions. So does that mean that would be a self-dealing, I would assume, if they went in specifically themselves, directed the police department to take action? And what if that did happen and the police chief, I mean, you can, I would have given that a big leaving alone as a police chief, particularly because it had to do with my police department. So I would have. But
you're at the point where you have to remember that the select board has a lot of control because they're operating under Chapter 97, a lot more control over the police chief. So the question is, for that to take place, then I would have to say that they would have had to have been convened as a board, and they were giving the chief a directive to do what she did. That's in my eyes, that's the only way that she would have not obviously been able. She couldn't refuse to do it, because you got to think about it. They're the ones in charge of her. You know what I mean?
Well, what bothers me about that is, we are supposed to expect more from police at this point. And, I say this all the time, and I'm not saying she's a weak police leader. I'm just saying that when things are wrong, police leaders should say it's wrong and at least go on the record. If that's what happened, go on the record that it's wrong. But when the police allow these things to happen, Rick, do you have that clip queued up by any chance?
Yeah, one sec.
Because this is what happens.
Kept uncovering theories on why this violates Mr. Carney's First Amendment rights. It violates his due process rights. The government can't just suddenly decide that everything that all of you folks do every day is now a felony. That's absurd.
And so I don't know if I gave you the rest of that or not, but what the rest of it says is that calling attention or presenting an alternative to this murder, and I would even say, is it really a murder? Is it? If it was, really should back over it. I don't think it would be really a murder.
I have it. You just sent it to me in pieces.
Because
so hang on.
These prosecutors, these state troopers, they're lost in the fog of the battle here on the Karen Reed case. And Aidan Carney is uncovering facts that hurt them. And so they used what was at what they had to go after Aidan Carney. They used the machinery of the state to prosecute him on something that is unprecedented.
Yeah, they used the machine of the state. And if the select board is using the machine of law enforcement, then I think that really needs to be exposed to the utmost extent. And if this person, that alleged that there was a forgery, if it wasn't a forgery, if there is a lawsuit, that person will be deposed. The police officers will be deposed. It will be a big, big mess, and it will turn on anyone who tried to break the law. And that's where me personally, I understand retaliation. I do. But when you wear the crown, I think you have to roll the dice and stand up for what's right, or we're just going to turn into a police state.
And and we don't know. I don't know.
No, we don't.
Anything about the personally, the Canton Select Board members, I don't know what the dynamics are of them. Is it like normally, is it 3-2 when it comes to voting on specific things that people are upset about? Is it, the fact that they haven't like responded to things publicly? And again, select board members can be very limited on what they can say publicly, obviously, because when it comes to personnel issues, the board is supposed to be fair and unbiased, because the board becomes the judge and jury when it comes to terminations, for example. And you have to be unbiased. And when people come to you, I'll tell you, like personally, me, I don't allow any like town employees to really talk to me at all when it comes to specific issues. I direct them to speak to the town manager or the town administrator, because if they end up having to come before me, as being on the board, where it's a hearing when it comes to an employee issue, I have to be presented the facts from both sides. And I prefer to get the facts at the same time so I can make an educated decision. I don't want to I don't ever want to be accused of being biased or whatnot, because and that's the way I am. I do not involve myself in it because it's the best way to handle it as a select board member. Exactly.
It's your reputation. And just like, you
can talk to me, you can tell me all you want, but be assured it's not going to be a conversation that's going to be, I'm not going to say anything, because I'm going to turn that information over to the proper person that can handle looking into it. And that's why the best thing to do is follow the chain of command. You have to follow the chain of command. I've always said that. Always, always. Have you reached out to so-and-so? Have you reached out to so-and-so? Then you have the option of coming before the board. And you can always speak in public input. Always. Or you can make an appointment with the board. But from what I understand and what I'm feeling, you can make an appointment with your select board. Absolutely.
Oh, I didn't
You
know
call
that.
your town administrator, and then they usually give you like 15 minutes or whatever. You can do it in public. You can do it in non-public if it's something that's confidential. Absolutely, you can make an appointment with the board.
I didn't even know that. I should know that.
Oh, yeah.
So, and by no way are we suggesting that anybody did anything wrong. We're merely posing hypotheticals because we don't know. We don't know what's going on. We're just speculating. I think.
But when you speculate on what happened to Aiden, you have to wonder what's going on here, because people have the right to petition, as you said, to redress their complaints to the boards or the local governments, and they have that absolute right. And what they don't have, what they're not supposed to fear is what Elizabeth Proctor did by calling employers and making complaints about people just because they follow a site. That, to me, smacks dab of the 1940s Germany. Let's just put that right out there. So, Miss Elizabeth Proctor, call me, because we need to have a little discussion. And I do follow Turtle Boy, so she should be calling me. And I would love to have a little chat with her and set her ass straight.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you a question, Darren. I'm going to put you on the spot. How do you like that?
Good.
You worked with Michael Proctor.
I did, and
are you shocked by this turn of events?
Yeah, I am, because when I think he worked at SP Milton, if I remember correctly. And I remember.
I mean, you didn't work with him all the time. You just knew of him and talked with him.
No, I was the duty officer. I was also the duty lieutenant. I was also the patrol lieutenant. So I got a chance to go to different barracks. And the ones who got to know me and got to trust me would call me and ask me questions, either about, maybe doing a search warrant or if something was procedurally correct. And I specifically remember having a good relationship with Proctor. There was another trooper that worked there too. He had like a name, like a Flynn, or like some. It reminds me of Robin Hood, Connor Flynn, or something like that. And they were the two most productive young troopers in Milton Barracks. So I would have never thought in the brief time, the brief period that I had an opportunity to interact with him, that he would ever be the subject of anything so spurious or inconsistent with what I perceived him to be at the time. And who knows,
Well, I mean, but you know yourself with how the state police can be as well. So,
Well, the thing is, too, but first, I mean, if it's true, if he did know the Alberts, I mean, that would be one thing that, I made the mistake of calling someone on behalf of a friend whose niece was allegedly raped. And that person that I called took offense, retaliated against me, called my boss, who then retaliated against me. And it was a simple little phone call. So yes, who knows who spoke to him or forced him to do anything? But at the same time, I would have stepped down. I mean, that's just me. Especially in a murder case. I mean, a murder case is, any time you're taking away someone's civil rights, to me, is sacred. And, I always try to be, when I say something about a particular individual, like I've spoke out against the unwritten rule, like,
yes,
like that is the truth. And you can poke my eyes out if it isn't. And I think the same in a murder case is someone's life is in the balance, and it's not fair to do the things that he's accused of doing if he in fact did them. You do get some pressure sometimes working for the DA's office. I've investigated cases for 6 months, and then they tell me that they're not going to investigate it, and now I have to explain to the family why they're not going to investigate it. But those choices, weren't in a murder case. And I think if I had an ethical and moral issue, it's just in my personality, I would have had to say or step down or leave the office or whatever. And, I don't know what he did or didn't do. I just hear the reports and, what's in the reports. But even spelling someone's name wrong is wrong. I mean,
and being a former lieutenant, that those reports are the difference between a case going to trial and not. Those reports that the police officers write that go into the system, okay? A case can hang by a thread because of that, right?
Right. I mean, and that's why, when we went back to that case with the judge's daughter, who was a heroin addict, and she said that she performed fellatio to get the money or whatever, there was no reason to even ask someone to change that report, because those specific statements were so inflammatory that the prosecution wouldn't have spoken of it anyways, because it's prejudicial. The facts are she was caught with heroin. And I don't remember if she was driving, but those are the facts. The other inflammatory facts have nothing to do with it.
Right.
So, but spelling someone's name wrong purposely, if that's what happened, is irresponsible, one. But people do it all the time when they form LLCs and they don't want to be caught. They spell the name. They forget to put a C, or they forget to put an E. And that just goes to show intent. And the person that I knew, the trooper proctor that I met, I would have never thought would do that. He was very conscientious in the small amount of time that I interacted with him. And I don't even know what to say. I think it's a disservice to police. We're under enough scrutiny as it is. So do your job and do it right, or don't wear the crown and get out and go do something else.
The minute that the relationship, if you will, became public of the Proctors and the Alberts, the minute that happened, he should have withdrawn completely. Because any attorney, any appeal that's going to appeal this case, because whatever the ends up being, if she was convicted, it was going to go appeal immediately, okay? The fact that there is a relationship established, no matter how much they try to deny it, and now we have Elizabeth Proctor calling the employers of the people of Canton that follow this site, all right, so you're going to add that right to the mix.
Right. That's so improper.
It's very improper. And at this point in time, he's tainted, and he needs to withdraw himself. I would compare it to all the labs. Remember the labs that were all tainted? All those cases that ended up getting thrown out.
Andy Dugan.
Yeah, well,
And
this is similar because anything he investigated is now tainted.
And what I found funny too is not funny, haha, but God rest his soul, that Andrew Polk is the one who died in Canton. And he died because he was at was a captain who was in internal affairs, James Coughlin. And he had obviously kids there drinking underage, and someone died. And that, why wasn't he fired? Why? I don't think he was employed at the time. I can't remember, but he was caught previous on how to fix a drug scandal, misrepresenting himself. Yet he still got promoted and was promoted into internal affairs in the state police. And years later, a kid dies at his house. So what does that say? Are we promoting people that are compromised into positions of authority?
Well, I think the issue to delve a little further is that usually the reason someone gets promoted or whatnot is because they know something.
Exactly. And other people ride other people's coattails.
Exactly.
And they promote their friends. Even when they're drunk with a gun in the car and their friend gets ejected out of the window and nothing happened, and that person still gets promoted up the chain.
Or they could, cover up for their informants when, someone's cousin was killed in a car accident, and either the federal or local police officer decided that informant was far more important than the person that was killed. And that person that hit them at a high rate of speed, according to witnesses, didn't even get a ticket. And was able to walk away and go commit, trafficking cocaine and whatnot a few months later. So you have to question these things. And as you say, police officers, like public officials, are at that higher standard that people hold them to. And sometimes it's hard, but you know what? You put your life and soul into this position. And there's so many more darn good police officers than there are these shitty, corrupt ones.
There are.
And if anybody hates these shitty, corrupt ones more than anybody, it is good police officers.
That is true. And it embarrasses good police officers and makes them be tainted. And these police officers know that. And we are just going down a rabbit hole. I mean, we're hiring police now that, the state police, and kids don't like the food, so they went on a hunger strike. Like, give me a break. Like, you're going to get punched in the face, but if we don't turn this around as leaders of our community and leaders in law enforcement, you're going to end up with a bunch of little baby Marxist police officers that are going to disregard crime. They're going to take your guns from you, and they're going to put their finger on the scale in a murder case.
And we don't want that. I mean, it's those ones that were on the damn hunger strike would have thrown their ass right out of that freaking class.
I'm sure that the and then the problem too is the troopers that are there at the academy, most of them are there because that's where they live in the area. It's not that it's some prestigious job like it used to be. Like, I think the troop majors of each troop and the captains should be the ones teaching the academies.
Oh, absolutely.
And not some trooper that just got out of the academy a year ago. And that's why we have this watering down of training. And, there's a lot of things wrong, but people this is the time they really need to step up and speak out, because, I mean, if you look at what's happening in Canton, if those people never spoke out, then this would keep going on. Thanks, guys. Sorry.
Anyways, we're going to wrap up. We'll see you next week. And look for us on Double D Uncensored when we're going to be doing some live shows, because I'm going to be down there.
Yay, see you tomorrow, guys.
See you later. Bye-bye.